We're online. Good evening. Welcome to this special digital Tele-Townhall event. My name is George Kelemen. I'm the president and CEO of the Texas Retailers Association. And this evening, we're honored to be in the office in the congressional office in Washington, D.C. of Congressman Roger Williams from the 25th District of Texas. So, Congressman, I appreciate you hosting us. And if you'd like to go ahead and say a few opening words.
Well, thank you, George. And it's great to be talking to a bunch of my fellow retailers. Retail is the backbone of this economy. It always has been in America. People that take risk, we need some reward. And last couple of years has been a little hard on retailers, but I'm excited about the opportunities ahead of us, and I'm excited about representing the retail industry in Congress, and I look forward to our visit tonight.
Thank you, sir. Well, this evening we're here to talk about the border adjustment tax. We'll go into a little bit more detail about that in just a second, but I want to thank all the folks that are online. We've got several hundred folks that have tuned in either through the live video stream or through the traditional Tele-Townhall method. A little while later, there'll be an opportunity to ask questions of both the congressman and myself. First, a little bit of background on the border adjustment tax. As you know, there's been a lot of conversation in Congress about tax reform. And right off the top, I'd just like to say that the retail community, and I think the congressman would agree, we all want tax reform. We want good and meaningful tax reform that helps everybody, individuals and companies alike. But in one of the proposed tax reform plans, known as the blueprint, there is a provision in it that's called the border adjustment tax, which would essentially tax imports back into the U.S. that many retailers sell. Items, common everyday items like avocados, coffee, cocoa, bananas, things that honestly either are not grown or grown to the extent necessary in this country or produced to the extent necessary in this country. And we're talking about a 20% tax on these items. So folks at home can do the math and see that that would result ultimately in higher consumer prices. And some of our colleagues here at the national level, at the National Retail Federation, have done some studies, and it would result in about a $1,700 increase per family per year on common everyday items like your groceries, like the gasoline you pump in your cars, and other everyday items. And for a lot of consumers, that's probably a pretty big hit to take. Additionally, for many retailers, it would result in an added burden. As we all know, retailers, work on very, very thin margins. In the instance of groceries, we're talking 1% to 2% margins, profit margins, and not much more for the rest of the retail sector. So if you lob on a 20% tax on the items that they're looking to bring into the U.S. to be able to sell to consumers at good prices and reasonable prices, you can understand how problematic this would be. So let me talk a little bit about the Texas retailers and why we care so much about this. Obviously, with our proximity to Mexico, a great trading partner not only for the U.S. but for Texas, you can imagine the big deal this is, particularly in the grocery sector, but also in some of the textiles and furniture sectors. The Texas Retailers Association has taken a leading role in pushing back against the border adjustment tax while making it clear we want to be a partner and a resource for meaningful tax reform, but we don't want it to happen on the backs of the retail community. So we've taken a leading role as part of the Americans for Affordable Products Coalition, which is a larger national coalition that's working and pushing back against the border adjustment tax. So at this time, let me introduce a colleague of ours at the national level, Brian Dodge, who's with the Retail Industry Leaders Association, to talk about the national efforts and the national coalition efforts related around pushing back against the border adjustment tax. Brian, it's all yours.
Hi, I'm Brian Dodge. I work for the Retail Industry Leaders Association and work closely with Americans for Affordable Products, the coalition, the national coalition that has come together to stop the border adjustable tax. The coalition, as you may know, is made up of about 500 businesses, some small, some large, from all kinds of different industries, including retailers, manufacturers, auto companies, and alike. The thing that brings all of those companies together is the deep concern about the border adjustable tax, its impact on those businesses, but more importantly, the impact it'll have on consumers. Our estimates suggest that consumers, or should I say probably more appropriately, American families should expect under the border adjustable tax to spend as much as $1,700 more every year for the products they need, the common household essentials, clothes, food, gasoline, things of that sort. The reality is, this is a bad proposal, but tax reform is critical. And so the coalition, and working with good partners like those who have been on the phone thus far, are working together to make sure that we can get the border adjustable tax off the table so that we can move on to pro-growth tax reform. I think we all agree that the tax code is a mess and it is full of inequities, and it needs to be addressed. And so for us to get to pro-growth tax reform, we need to stop the border adjustable tax. I'm very happy to say that I believe that the border adjustable tax is it's on the ropes, and in no small part because of people like Congressman Williams, who has spoken out against it and weighed in publicly about concerns about the border adjustable tax. But it is a long fight, a long process, and given the great risk that comes with the border adjustable tax, we need to be vigilant and we need to be working together in order to make sure that we're educating lawmakers, those who haven't yet spoken out, so that they're weighing in with leadership and hearing from their constituents that this is a bad idea and the one we need to move on from and, again, get to tax reform. So I want to thank the host of the call tonight, certainly Congressman Williams, for the opportunity to present, and I'll throw it back to the hosts.
Congressman, you've had a lot of time to look over the blueprint, particularly the border adjustment tax, and this is something that you deal with every day. So can you tell the folks out there sort of your thoughts on the border adjustment tax?
Well, as most of you know, if you don't, I'm a retailer like all of you. I'm in the automobile business, and I've been fighting for tax reform for the last 4 years I've been up here. As you know, we got the highest tax rates in the world, some of the highest tax rates in the world, and that's the reason we're losing jobs, and that's the reason jobs don't come back over here. So we've been talking about empowering Main Street America, empowering retailers to get us to get the economy going again. The reason the border tax is a non-starter for me is because of the tax increase, and we're going to tell everybody we're going to cut your taxes, but by the way, we're going to raise your taxes to help us pay for it. The problem we got in Washington is they deal with a term called revenue neutral, which is no term in the private sector. I can imagine what your companies would look like if you told your shareholders or your customers we're going revenue neutral this year. They'd laugh you out of office. So the fact of the matter is, what we've got to do is we've got to look at tax reform two ways. We've got to look at the fact that we need to give the taxpayers real tax reform so they make more money, spend more money, hire people, expand, take risk. And then the pay for, as they call it up here, is not a border tax, but it should be drastic cuts in government. We must make government smaller. The problem is there's no appetite up here. Nobody looks at it like a business. All of us know if we lose money, we don't go borrow more money to pay the loss. We cut our expenses, and we sometimes lower prices to create more sales. So we need to have true tax reform. We need to cut taxes, and then we need to empower the federal government to reduce the size of government. There's a lot of things we could do. There's a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse up here that could be addressed. But don't try to tell people that we're going to cut your taxes and then we're going to raise your taxes to help pay for it. I'm fighting for that every single day. I think we're making headway. President Trump has made the comment that the pay for in the tax reform plan is through an improved economy. It's not through taxing people in other areas. So I think we're making headway there, but I'm going to fight for it because, as George said, the cost of goods goes up, the cost of services go up. People can't pay for that, and the margins don't go up for retailers. It's just passing on a dollar worth of increase. So we're going to fight for that. I think hopefully we're going to win in the end. But we need to hear from all of you the fact that, and push back on those of my colleagues that think a border tax is the answer. The answer is to drastically cut the size of government like all businesses do.
Thank you, Congressman. And I can't tell you how appreciative we are of the efforts that you're making on behalf of not only the constituents in your district, but of retailers and of businesses in our community in Texas on this particular issue. It's great to have a champion like you that's one of us,
right,
and from our industry leading the way. I think we're going to go ahead. Can you talk a little bit about the timing? Retailers have spent a lot of time visiting with members of Congress, and particularly in Texas from our delegation, pushing back, explaining to them the severity of the problem that the border adjustment tax would present for our retailers and our members and our business community, including having an opportunity to visit directly with Chairman Brady. So from what you're hearing up here, you got your ear a lot closer to the ground than we do. What are you hearing, and how's it looking?
Well, I mean, I don't know when we're going to address it. It's on President Trump's list to address it, and he's very, very interested. And I will say he gets it. He's a business guy like all of us, and he understands that high taxes are not going to make this economy get better. It's just going to be debate. I mean, we're going to have the debate. Are we going to ask the taxpayers to accept lower taxes and then have a tax increase to help them pay for it? Or are we going to ask the federal government to do what they should do and begin to cut expenses up here like families do and like businesses do, and empower Main Street and retailers to cash flow our country? That's going to be the debate. And I think right now President Trump, through some of the things he has said, sees it our way. I'm going to continue to visit with his administration. And, look, we've got a plan called Jumpstart America we've been talking about for 4 years. And what we do there is we cut the corporate tax, we cut the personal tax, we cut the capital gains, we cut the dividends, we do away with the inheritance tax, we allow 100% a write-off of fixed asset purchases if you choose to do so. We repatriate all this money overseas on a yearly basis at 5%. So we've got a plan that does not pick winners and losers, and it empowers all of us to make money so we can spend money. So that's going to be the debate. Who's going to pay for this, as government wants to know, but the government needs to be the one to let us make money and understand the taxpayers and all of you listening tonight did not generate this $20 trillion debt. The federal government did, and they've got to fix it.
Thank you so much, Congressman. Well, thank you so much for your time, Congressman Williams. Appreciate you hosting us here in your office in Washington, D.C. Keep fighting a good fight on behalf of retailers and your constituents in CD25, of which I am one. But we truly appreciate all the efforts you're making, and we look forward to helping you out, being supportive of your efforts to make sure that whatever tax reform we do is meaningful and it benefits both individuals and corporations and companies alike, and is fair.
Well, I agree. And I would just say to all of you listening, continue to remind your elected officials that don't penalize the retail industry for what the government has done to get us in a hole. Let us cash flow the country. Let us be the benefit that we can do. Let us make business, create business, spend money, and grow the economy while the federal government cuts expenses. That's the answer, and that's the pay for. I'll fight for that every single day.
Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate you hosting us. Thank you all for joining us, and good evening from Washington. Good night.